Hey guys, it's Cal with the Lighting Doctor here. We're on another project and today what I'm going to try and do is answer all the questions we've been getting via YouTube and Facebook and email. I'm going to try and answer those as we walk through this project here. So, you know how I kind of start off every video. It's not that difficult to install low voltage landscape lighting. The toughest part is deciding where you're going to place those lights and how that's going to look, and that just comes from experience. That's why we offer our free consultations online, where you basically send us some pictures of your home and we'll shoot a little video, kind of help you decide where to place those lights. But you know, the first step that I always recommend is after you get your lights, you unpack them, just go and set them where you think they're going to go. This isn't anything permanent, but if you can look around this project, you can see we've just gone and just stabbed them in the ground in all the places that we think we're going to need them, because that way we can run out our wire and we know how much we're going to need roughly to get to each fixture, and it just makes everything a lot easier to plan that way. The advantage here on this project is a couple things. Is one, we've actually ripped out an old system that's probably 20 years old, and I'll show you some things about connectors there that I really want to get the message across. And then the other thing is we're fortunate enough, some of you guys know we started out as an irrigation company, and we actually installed irrigation in this property as well. So what we did is, before we had a full lighting plan, we actually ran a whole bunch of extra wire in the trenches with our irrigation pipe. Now, you know, I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't sure if they want to add lights or anything or not yet, but my suggestion is, if you're doing any landscaping, putting in an irrigation system, or any time at all that you're opening up the ground, just go and throw some wire in the trenches, throw some wire in the ground, because it's always going to be there for after the fact. And all we've done is we just left ourselves a bunch of extra spare wire at a bunch of different locations, usually around the irrigation heads, because we know where that wire is going to be when we need to tap into it. We just left a lot of extra and buried that with the head, so that when we come back to add extra lights, we have that there. We don't have to rebury a whole bunch of extra wire. So you know, if you're not sure about lighting yet, go and get some 12-2 low voltage cable. It's going to be your most standard cable. You can easily throw 20 plus lights on this without having to worry about any voltage drop. You can get smaller cable that's slightly cheaper, but it's not a lot less expensive than the 12-2 cable. And then this way, you know, you can add a bunch of lights and just go and throw it in the ground. And whether you use it or not, I mean, you spend $150 on wire, but it's there and you can always add lights on in the future. So that's the biggest point I want to drive home here, is if you're not sure, just go and throw some wire in the ground, because this is just going to save you so much time down the road, because now we don't have to dig everything up. We know where our wire is and we're just going to hook into that. Hey guys, so like I said, on this project we actually pulled out a bunch of old fixtures. They're actually really good quality fixtures. The only problem, and not that it's a problem, but these were probably installed 20 years ago, and they're all halogen fixtures. I would say if you're installing a new landscape lighting system, don't even consider halogen. It's just going to make it a lot more difficult to design and plan your system, because you got to be a lot more careful with things like voltage drop and stuff. And if there's if you're looking at getting a system installed and there's somebody out there who's still quoting you on a halogen system, the only reason they're doing it is they're just trying to make a sale, because halogen fixtures are cheaper than LED. Just like when you go buy a halogen bulb as opposed to an LED bulb for your home, the LED costs more, but you save more in power long term. You don't have to change bulbs all the time. And with a low voltage landscape lighting system, it just makes it a lot more attainable for the do-it-yourselfer to be able to go put in a system, because you don't have to worry about all those old videos on landscape lighting that are online that talk about voltage drop and hub and spoke and all that kind of stuff. Not that it's that important or not important. It's just, it's not as relevant as it used to be with halogen systems if you're using an LED system. So anyway, good fixtures, they're halogen. We're replacing them all with LED, but the thing that I want to really point out is the connections. So you know, you see these a lot at your big box stores. It's basically there's many different kinds, but all it is it's like a clamp-on device that basically you stick your wires into, and it just pierces into the wires. And the problem with that is, anytime you start poking holes into your wire and it's buried underground where the soil is moist and you get rain. So when you pierce a wire like that and it's got to sit in the ground in all the moisture, I mean, what do you think is going to happen to that wire and that connection? Is over time it's just going to corrode and that light is going to stop working. So, you know, that's one example. If you see those, don't bother. The other thing I see a lot of, and you see it here as well, but they used just regular morettes, which there's no gel, there's nothing waterproof about these at all. So I mean, how much dirt and water do you think is getting into these? And I guarantee you that these lights are not going to work long if you just do something like that. That's why we always use, you know, good waterproof connectors, because it's going to make sure that whatever's in the ground is going to stay working in the ground for as long as you have your system. And I'll show you guys more about those connectors a little bit later and answer some questions about that. So like as always, the first step, you know, we've placed our lights, we've ran all our wire, we know where we've got to bury all that. Now we're actually going to go and set the lights. Like I always talk about, I just want to point out here what the importance of getting something like a rubber mallet is, especially if you're doing path lights, because path lights are, you know, they're going to sit this much higher and you want those to be nice and stable. And there's some things you can do. You know, I know some guys that actually pour a little bit of dry, like quickcrete in the hole that helps it, you know, become more sturdy and solidify. The only thing with that is if you're not quite sure yet if that's where you want to have those lights, then that's a pretty permanent solution. So it's a good solution, but you want to make sure that's where you want to have your light. And the other thing, I actually had a guy stop by today as we were working on the street, and you know, he had asked, you know, how much for a light, because we had a kid who just came and, you know, kicked our light and it snapped and the whole spike and everything broke. And that's the, you know, why we always talk about getting a good quality fixture, because you can tell when you're getting a good solid built ground stake as opposed to something cheap that you typically find off a big box store that you can snap like this. So I mean, if you can snap it like this, what are the chances that's going to stand up to a lawnmower, a dog, a kid, whatever it might be? So just spend the extra money and get something that's gonna last. And we always say, when you're placing your light, you know, you want to dig a small hole to get it started, because you're going to have to dig that out anyway to put all your excess wire in there. But grab a rubber mallet, and we usually send these in with our do-it-yourself kits, just because it's going to help solidify and get that light into the clay where it's going to become nice and sturdy now. Again, so it's not getting knocked over as easy, and that's a fixture that's going to be in there permanently for a long period of time. Once you've got that in, then you can go and just simply screw your light in, and then you can come back afterwards, make your connections, and bury everything. Yeah, so over the last 2 years, we put all kinds of do-it-yourself kits, and we're putting out all these videos on YouTube because we want people to understand that it's not that difficult to put in low voltage lighting. A lot of the videos that you've watched on YouTube probably talk about voltage drop and all kinds of things like this. You don't have to be an electrician to install low voltage landscape lighting. We started out as an irrigation company, and we just learned through trial and error and found out it's really simple, that anybody can do it. We've literally sent do-it-yourself kits from everywhere, from you know, north to Vancouver, all the way down to Florida, to California, all the way up to New York. So I mean, we've sent kits everywhere, and every single time I get a comment back is everybody's always surprised how easy it was to install these do-it-yourself kits, and especially with the YouTube videos and all the information that we're trying to provide for you guys. We want you guys to understand that it's not that tough. You can do it yourself, and that's why we keep shooting these videos and keep putting this content out there for you guys. So another question I get asked all the time is, how do I get under a sidewalk? Now, the first thing I'll say is, whether it's a driveway or sidewalk, if you're doing any kind of concrete work, whether you think you're ever going to put in lighting or irrigation or whatever, put some kind of conduit under. Usually a piece of 2-inch PVC pipe
or something like that, just so that you can slide wire, you can slide pipe, you can do any of that after the fact, because it is way more of a pain in the butt to do it after the fact. So just slide some kind of sleeve in through. If it's a driveway, same thing, because you never know, and all the time people are limited by what they can do because they never put a sleeve in. So, but if it's after the fact and you don't have a sleeve and you need to get under a sidewalk, one of the things I'm going to recommend is something like this. So this is called different things, but it's called like a roto drill bit. You can go on Amazon. This is like a $15, maybe $20 drill bit. You can get a 24 or a 36-inch one, and basically it just goes in any drill, and you can just basically drill your way under. So we've already done this one, so I'm not gonna take the time here to actually do it, but basically all you need to do is dig back a bit of a trench and then just drill away. And if your sidewalk is more than 2 feet, you might have to drill, you know, halfway through on this side and then do the same thing on the other side, and then just drill through on the other side, meet in the middle, and then you can easily slide your pipe through. We've tried lots of different methods. This is easily the easiest one that we've come across, and again, it's a $15, $20 bit. You can go on Amazon, Google or Amazon and search yard butler, roto drill, and you'll find something like this. Easiest way to get under a sidewalk. I'm going to show you two examples of how to use your BVS2 snap block connectors. So, you know, one of the questions I get asked all the time too is that there's two ways to wire these. One is when you have your wire coming to your light and then it keeps going out. How do you wire that? And if your light is at the end of the line, how do you use these to wire that? So, for example, this is a light fixture that's at the end of the line, meaning there's no more lights after this one. So we just have one wire. One 12-2 wire coming to this fixture, and then we have a wire from our fixtures. So the way we do that now is we still have two connections at every single fixture, but now we're going to use our BVS2 snap lock connector. We're going to take our 12-2 wire, and that's going to fit into one of the ports, and each of these connections has 3 ports. That's for if we have another light ongoing, which I'll show you in a second. And then our fixture wire goes into one of the other ports, and then those simply snap tight and hold those wires in place. And then we do the same thing with our other set of wires, fixture wire, our 12-2 wire. We open these up, our wires go in, snap tight, and that's our connection here. So we're going to wrap those wires up and then bury those at the fixture.
here's the example now of, like I mentioned, we already have our wire buried, but we've got a wire that's coming from one direction, we've got our fixture in between, and then we've got our wire that's going to go out to our next fixture. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that wire and we're just going to cut into it now. And same as always, we're going to strip approximately 1 inch off each end. So that's our wire that is going to go out to our next fixture. And then we have our wire coming into this fixture that we're going to do the same. Strip the ends off that. And then as you're looking at your BVS2 connectors, you'll notice that there's 3 holes, and that's why we're going to use it for this fixture in between. So you've got your smaller 18 gauge wire coming from your fixture that's going to go into the smaller port. You push that all the way in, and then you've got your wire that's coming in from your last light, and you're going to push that all the way in. And then you've also got your wire now that's going out to your next light, and you're going to push that all the way in, and then you're going to snap that down tight, and then you should still have 3 wires left. You've got your 18 gauge wire from your fixture, you've got your line coming in, and you've got your line going out. And again, there is no positive or negative, so it doesn't matter if it's the exact same wire throughout, as long as you've got all 3 of those wires going into your connection. Snap those tight. Those wires aren't coming out, and now you go and bury those wires and you've got your connections done.